This is the Comedy Food Truck Podcast. Be sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Comedy Food Truck and subscribe to us on the Comedy Food Truck YouTube channel to see full video versions of each episode. You can find links to all of this at comedyfoodtruck.com. Like us, share us, subscribe, and leave a review. Thank you for listening and enjoy the show.
You're listening to the Comedy Food Truck Podcast. We talk life, food, relationships, and have fun with all of it. And now here's your host, comedian John Hill.
Hey man, this is cool. Scott, if you're watching on YouTube, is doing product placement. He's hoping to get a what do you call it? A commercial endorsement deal from Collagen Water.
Yeah.
You know, their target audience is like 65-year-old women in Orange County.
Right.
That's Scott's target
Scott's like,
audience.
that's my demographic, yo.
That's the demographic.
They got more.
Pretty spot on.
Yeah, I won't say it.
Oh, now you decided to cross the line.
You're like, oh, it's too
Now
early
he
in the show.
uses restraint.
It's too early in the show for that
I
line.
was going to say they got more collagen in their lips than they do in their ash.
Wow.
I don't even know if collagen is supposed to be in your backside.
I don't know. See, that's why.
Well, let's get everybody introduced. We have I don't know, what am I saying? A bit? Do I call it what you call it?
A bit, I guess.
We got a little surprise for you up front, and then a little bit.
Some more stellar writing.
Got a surprise for everybody. Oh, did somebody write this?
I wrote it, but
that's cool.
I'm stealing it from. It's just
It's the internet. Okay,
Yeah.
I got you. The internet. It tells us everything. So we should introduce everybody.
I guess.
Scott is like over there flirting with his own camera, like his
What
own
is
image.
happening?
Wow. What is he doing? Like, is anybody even watching this?
like
that
a
much?
Scott's camera
bobblehead.
just went out. I don't know.
Man. All right. So to my left is Jared. Say what's up, Jared.
What's up, everyone?
And to his left is Scott the mug. Over there
a new
mugging
one.
for the camera.
The mug.
The mug. The
Hello, everybody.
There you go.
Wow.
And then our man Ray, who's sort of at the end. He's very socially distanced. Ray was socially distancing before it was popular. Say what's up, Ray.
Can you anti-social distance?
Uh-huh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Can you?
I've been doing that for 11 months.
Anti-social distancing.
Hi, everybody.
What does that mean, though? You're anti-social distancing. What does that mean? Like you get up and hug everybody and
But you're
get all up in their mug?
I guess you're like
Just
anti-social.
stay away. Just stay away. Hide in your house.
But that's exactly the definition of social distancing.
Yeah.
So you're pro.
What if you just don't like people?
Antisocial?
You're very pro social distancing.
That's
Yeah, you
true.
are.
I didn't think of it.
Yeah.
That-
I
I
know
didn't
what
think
you
of it
mean.
logically.
You're anti-social. I get
Wow.
it because you're antisocial. So you
Distancing.
distance. I know. I got you. I was like, I'm against social.
Let's break that
distancing.
down.
I'm protesting.
I'm both.
Social distancing by going into my house and never talking to anybody. Oh, okay.
Great.
That sounds intelligent. All right. So Ray, I guess set this up and tell us what we're doing.
This is another cold read like we did recently. I just
And everybody remembers that, right,
Yeah.
audience?
it was amazing.
I liked it.
A cold read. What
Maybe
we're going to do is we're going to,
If I recon, it was pretty good.
if you recon,
Yeah,
here's what I know.
I recon, it was pretty good.
So we have a story that we're all going to read parts for. We have stories that we're going to read parts for, and we're going to open the window, and it's February. Hence the cold read. Okay.
Cold read.
Actually, what is a cold read? It means we've never
The
seen
idea
this
is
before.
you've seen it for the first time and
Yeah.
just reading through
Scott's
it.
looking at it right now.
Right. I know. Scott's practicing. He's like working through lines. He's already hired a stunt man. Scott, getting it all in. All right. Okay. Is there a genre we're reading this into? Are we doing like a,
What
as
did we
a
do?
love
We did,
story?
we
or
did
is it-
epic last time.
It, did
Was
a
it
buddy,
epic?
it was like a buddy
Oh,
action.
buddy thing?
Yeah.
Okay. What are we going to do this time?
I could be the kids playing kind of thing.
Kids playing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's hide and seek. I
Okay.
forgot to put a title on it. But
So
it's
this
called
is
hide
like
and seek.
a family film or something? Or
Something, sure.
We're all
Okay.
kids?
Could be.
Or maybe we're...
No, at this point, we're adults.
Yeah, maybe we're
Some
senior
of us.
citizens
Some
and
of
we're
us.
out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Okay.
let's kick it off.
All right, cue the music.
Dun, 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 dun.
So I'm doing the narrator too, right?
You are the narrator.
After school special.
All right,
On a very special episode.
here we go. Hide and seek. One rainy afternoon, John, Jared, Scott, and Ray decide to play hide and seek.
It's raining and I'm bored.
Me too.
I can't do a kid. Well, what do you guys want to do? I'm the adult in the crowd.
Let's play hide and seek.
Not it.
Not it.
Not it.
Fine, go hide. Losers.
As Ray begins counting, the 3 other participants run off to hide. They make their way down into the basement. Oh, we got Foley. They make their way down into the basement where they find 3 sacks. Each...
Way to punctuate sacks. Wow.
Daddy.
Okay.
Each large enough for each of them to hide in.
Wow. Some big sacks.
Oh, look. 3 sacks.
Perfect.
I'm not hiding in a sack. It's too obvious.
Look, all you have to do is pretend to be whatever was originally in the sack. Ray will never figure it out.
Brilliant.
Jared immediately climbs into the first sack. Before John could object again, Scott climbs into the other sack. John reluctantly climbs into the 3rd remaining sack, and after a moment of junior high giggling,
Oh, we got older.
the 3 men go silent as Ray can be heard coming down the basement stairs.
Ready or not, here I come.
Ray walks up.
For the grip.
This is Aunt Pat. Ray walks up and nudges the first sack with his foot, at which point Jared replies, "Woof, woof."
Well, that's obviously a dog.
Ray moves on to the next sack and repeats the nudge.
Meow.
Well, that's obviously a cat.
Ray then moves to the final sack and nudges again, to which John immediately replies,
Potatoes.
"Good night, everybody."
Maybe they get that in Ireland. I don't understand.
Oh, boy.
Somebody needs to explain to me the joke. Potato sack? Because I'm dumb enough that I think potatoes would yell out their own.
What kind of sound does a potato make?
Screams because it's being dropped into hot grease.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
There you go. Epic.
That was epic. That was
On a very special episode of Comedy Food Truck.
we just gained at least 3 listeners from that.
Yep.
That was
I listen
highbrow.
for the cold read.
Oh.
All right. Well, let's move on to the topic
Okay.
because this show can only go up from here.
All right.
I like how I couldn't do a kid's voice. I'm a terrible actor. I cannot be a voiceover reader or whatever. Horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for affirming me. I needed some positive reinforcement in my
I'm
life.
here for you.
Thank you.
Just being real, John.
That's okay. There's no other way to be.
That's right.
That's funny. All right. So what you got, Jared?
So-
Jared's got our topic today.
I
So
do.
yeah, set it up, bud.
So this week, I just wanted to know, give me the best and the worst things about where you grew up. Like at the time you were growing up.
Right. It was the best of times, the worst of times.
I lived across the street from my high school.
Nice. And
Which-
how long were you? Did you live there before you were actually in high school?
Yes.
Okay.
So I grew up 3rd grade. We moved there. So
Okay.
3rd grade.
So you
on
get
up.
picked on from high school kids coming home?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We get bullied by the high school kids and stuff.
Man.
Yeah. But I mean,
I
we
know.
were little kids. They probably were just weren't. They were just it was
Hazing you or
probably
whatever.
nothing.
Yeah.
But we're just freaked out little kids. But yeah, it was cool. Lived right across the street. Could walk to the. Having some problems there.
You're right there.
I don't know. It's my microphone.
You just smell the breath that was on it.
Yeah. Just kind of
Had to
smells
shift
like a
it.
beer. What is that?
We've taped a lot of shows tonight. No, sorry. Go ahead.
So it was cool to live right across the street once I started going to school there. What was funny was my best friend got his license and would actually come pick me up in the morning,
Nice.
and we would drive literally,
Across the
literally
Oh, yeah.
across the street and park at the
In
parking
high
lot.
school, he got
Yeah.
it, and then he'd come and get.
Come pick me up.
You could get there faster than waiting for him to get in the car.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
funny.
it's just- yeah.
Wow.
I'll come pick you up.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I could sit in my living room with the front door open and hear the tardy bell ring and get up and make it to class from my house.
Oh wow! Did you have to run though?
Nope,
You could walk
I could walk across
before you were actually late.
Yep.
The tardy bell.
Yeah.
I never had one of those. That's the bell. Like you better get here. The
You
next
got
bell. you're
7
like,
minutes. You got
Oh,
7
I
minutes.
see.
It was like lunch would end. The bell rings. You got 7 minutes to get to class. I mean, I could
Nice.
listen for that and go, hey, I got to get going.
Were you able to leave school for lunch?
They closed the campus, but if you lived close enough like I did, you could get a little lunch pass on your ID. They'd stick it on there. We'd bribe the proctors and stuff with donuts and stuff.
That's funny.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'll bring you back donuts.
Yeah. It was more like, you better bring me something back if I let you go.
Right. Of course they did. So did you bring it just from your house, or did you have to go to a donut shop?
Sometimes we'd go places like,
Okay.
yeah, which was great too, because once you all got our licenses, then it was, you live right across the street. Well, you can go home for lunch. Who says I'm going home? It's like, we're going to Burger King. We're going.
Right. Yeah. We're gonna go get something. That's cool. I like
So
it.
that was a good thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. Anybody else? Oh, you didn't say the worst thing though. That was good, but what's the worst?
I don't know. The worst thing about the neighborhood?
Yeah, if there was, or you can tell us later. We can go to Scott.
Yeah. I mean,
Think about it.
it was a rough neighborhood, but it's like we were talking about kind of before the show, growing up in it, it's just, you don't know any different. It's where you live. It's just,
Right.
it's your neighborhood, did we get shot at track practice one time? Yeah, we did. But,
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's just like, oh, wow. Hey, they're shooting at us.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Hey, you want to grab something to eat later? Yeah, let's go.
That's crazy.
That stuff didn't happen in Upland.
Yeah, go figure.
Only below Foothill.
Right. Below the tracks,
Yeah.
literally on the
Yeah.
other side of the tracks.
yeah.
9th Street.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah.
On
I think with,
110th Street. Sorry, go ahead.
I think with me, I actually enjoyed when I was growing up because I lived in Stockton, California.
Yeah, I don't know how that was possible. You enjoyed Stockton, but okay.
We'll see now.
Downtown
right?
Stockton.
But at the time, it was great. We used to have a lot of family picnics at this park, and
Elvis Presley was big.
a lot of people in my family dressed up like him. No,
That was his later years.
Yeah.
He was big in his later years.
What is it? Ozzy and Harriet was on TV, and no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I had a good time, I mean,
Yeah.
one of the bad things was that I had to be bused to the south side of town.
See, there's not very many cities where the south side is the better side.
It wasn't the better side. It
It's
was
not usually.
Yeah.
Miami, that's about the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
South Beach, you go on the south side. Yeah.
anything that has the word manor.
South Side Manor?
Yeah, or you live in I live in whatever manor.
Oh.
Okay, right.
That's a good
West side.
neighborhood or
No,
bad?
that's not a good neighborhood. But it was good. I mean, I didn't like that part of it, having to be bused to south side to.
That's tough, yeah. To have to jump on a bus and go somewhere that's not your neighborhood.
Yeah, but as far as like growing up was concerned, I had a pretty good time. And then later on, as I learned, some of the things like, wow, that was a pretty rough area. But
Right.
like Ray said, you grew up there, and that's
Right.
where it was at. And then my mom was, they used to go out and party and stuff like that. And she met a guy that was a train conductor. Well, right behind our house was the train tracks. So it was funny for this guy to go by at all hours of the night and just blow the whistle.
Oh my gosh.
And literally the tracks were like 50 yards from our window.
I would have stabbed him.
And he didn't know what house it was, so his idea of fun was just to go blow the whistle all the way down the whole thing.
Blasting it.
And literally, man.
Okay.
I love you.
Did I tell you too that I had a stepfather that was a milkman?
I was going to say,
He mentioned that.
at this point in the story,
Did he work on a train?
at this point in the story, I'm severely questioning your mom's taste in men. An interior designer, a milkman, and a train conductor.
All I picture is the Polar Express and
Yeah.
Yeah.
what's his name?
And the
Tom
banjo
Hanks.
music.
Tom Hanks, yeah.
And the banjo. Did she date a banjo player? Was it Steve Martin?
Yeah.
That's awesome, man.
So-
She'd had quite the adventure when it came to men.
Yeah.
Her house always looked great. She was stocked in dairy,
Right.
and she could go wherever she wanted, anytime she wanted to go.
Yeah.
Hit the road.
Bottomless milk.
Bottomless milk and cottage cheese. Hey, baby,
Yeah.
I got. I don't doubt why she would go to see the conductor, because, your dad had a milk route. So,
Yeah. So, like my actual dad, he was the one that was the
Interior designer, right?
design.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, and he had a TV show and
TV
everything.
show
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like
Oh, wow.
that. Yeah. It was actually like before Home and Gardens and all that
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
came out. It
Yeah.
was a show like
what
that.
was his name of it again?
It was called The Daring Decorator.
I like it. No, it's cool.
Yeah.
He was like a forerunner to, Yeah, he got.
All this-
I mean, it's a huge now. The Food Network, the
HGTV.
DIY, all that.
Yeah.
yeah. He's like a forerunner to all that.
Pioneer.
So
A pioneer.
what I did was
Pioneer. He was blazing the tracks.
Right. And I still got some old pictures of that, but I had some of these old reel-to-reel tapes that he did, you know, and so what
That's
I
really
did
cool.
is I got him transferred over onto a DVD,
Yeah.
and I gave it to him for Father's Day one time.
Really?
So he didn't know. He thought those things were long gone in the trash, you know.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, I got to do something with these. So I went and did that and gave it to him for Father's Day, and he was just like
That's
stunned.
really cool.
That's cool.
You know,
Good deal.
Nice.
Yeah, the audience might think I make fun of Scott, but honestly,
You do.
I'm fascinated by his. Well, but I have a dad. I have a dad who quit a very lucrative job in the defense industry, where he's literally shaping the military as we know it, to leave my wife or my wife, leave my mom, date a woman about 10 or 15 years older than him, and buy a bar.
wow.
So you got it pretty good, bro. I didn't get no milk delivered to me for free.
John's on the backside of that
Yeah.
curve.
I couldn't jump on a train.
He got the cheap whiskey.
Right. I got no sense of color. I don't know anything about a color palette.
What is it? What is it, Scrooge, when his old man brings him home a steak
Yeah.
for Christmas?
Yeah.
That's a $20 piece of meat.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. That's it. No, what I'd get for Christmas every year was clothing that was about 2 years too small. Like, they'd buy clothing, and I'm like, do they even know how old I am? I was 12, and they're giving me clothes for an 8-year-old. It's like, what is going on?
Pink bunny suit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was terrible. Anyway. And it's got nothing to do with the best and worst of where I grew up.
So far, it doesn't see anything best. It's all worst.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like that. That's really awesome, dude. I like that. So the best was just growing up and just kind of hanging out, doing your thing. The worst was
Busing.
the train. Is that what
Busing.
the busing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the busing.
Being
was-
bussed. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Okay, Jarrett.
Yeah.
I was in the great land of up.
Yes. Upland.
How was
Upland.
Oh my
By
God.
the way, Ray grew up in Montclair,
Uh-huh.
Stockton for Stockton,
Stockton.
and then
Stockton.
Upland for Jarrett.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I think the best for me was we had everything really close. My friends were pretty close by too, so we would, when we were too young to drive, we would skateboard or ride our bikes everywhere. But the cool thing was down the street, there was a shopping center where there used to be a grocery store. I mentioned this on a couple episodes ago about when my mom stole my bike when I went down there. So we used to go hang out. It was called Hanover's Ranch Market. We used to go hang out down there.
Okay.
And then as I got older, I think I was probably 13 years old, they tore the market out and put in a movie theater. So
yeah.
I used to walk down and watch movies all the time.
Is this right on Foothill? And
Isn't that the theater
Yeah,
you
right
worked
where
at?
the Del Taco is. I think
Okay.
it's a hair.
yeah. There was a theater right there.
Yeah,
Way
there was
back.
a
And then
where you
Edwards.
worked?
TV was on the end.
What's that?
Is that the one you worked at?
No, I worked for Edwards, but it was a different one. It was the other one in Upland. That was in South Upland. It's now a Michael's, I think.
Okay.
Okay.
But you're right by Denny's. That Denny's is where all the Rocky Horror Picture Show people would go.
Yes.
You remember they'd hang out at that Montclair Theater at the
Oh,
mall.
yep. Because
And
they
then-
did midnight showings of it, and they
Yep.
would all roll in the Denny's
They
afterwards.
hit that Denny's every
Yeah.
time. So if you went to that
Yeah.
Denny's after 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, they
There
were
they
all there
were.
in that back room, man.
Yep.
Just doing the time warp.
Freak show.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, it was crazy. They were nice people, but woof, little off. Little off. But yeah. But the worst thing for me probably was I had a couple close friends in the neighborhood, and then for some reason still don't know to this day, they just turned on me and would bully me every time they saw me. So that
Really?
was and it sucked because my grandma lived across the street and my aunt lived next door. So anytime I went out, I had to keep my eye out for them. So there were a lot of days. We had a really tall tree in our front yard. There was a lot of days where I would just climb up in the tree and watch for them and wait till they went somewhere, and I knew they were inside for a while, and then I just take off.
Oh, jeez.
So yeah, it was pretty
Wow.
bad. But
Punks.
yeah, took a bat to him one time, and then that was all over.
That's probably right.
How old were you? I mean, what grade were you in, or where were you at?
Let's see. That was
17, 18?
29?
yeah, I was like 25,
25,
26.
yeah.
29, yeah.
No, it was. I want to say like probably fifth grade. It started.
Okay.
We were good friends up, and
And
It
these
was
were
kinda-
were these like first, second graders? What grade were
No,
they?
the one of the kids was the same age as me. The other one was a year or two older than me. But he was the one. I still was friends with him. But if he was with the other kids, then he would torture me.
Then he was.
But we were by
he was
ourselves. We were
that
cool.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
So it's just weird.
it's the profile for a
this day.
psychotic
Kids.
Yep.
backbiter.
Yep.
Wow.
Sociopath.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
much.
he's a criminal mind right there. So I kind of had two neighborhoods I grew up in. One was Linwood, the other was Lakewood. They were very different. But Linwood was through about second or third grade, so I'll use Lakewood. Best part was lots of parks, great, safe neighborhood. It wasn't. It was like middle to lower middle class. It wasn't like a huge, super nice neighborhood or anything, but it wasn't run down, and it definitely didn't have gangs. There was some domestic violence that got pretty crazy a couple times, but not necessarily outside of the neighborhood violence. Like nobody was coming in and didn't have to deal with bullies, didn't have to do any of that stuff.
You were the bully.
No, I wasn't really a bully.
Yeah. If you don't have a bully,
Right, you are the one. Yeah. I did get a fair amount of fights when I was in elementary school. There's no doubt. My last fight was in middle school, and then I never had to fight again. But let me think. The worst. There's a couple things, but one of the worst things was my neighborhood. First of all, both at my school and then in the neighborhood, everyone was given permission to spank you.
Like
There was a waiver my mom would sign every year for the school district, and it allowed them to paddle us. Mm-hmm. And then she would tell all the neighbors, if you see them messing up, obviously tell me, and if you need to, then you discipline them.
Did she bring him a paddle?
Right? No, my mom didn't use a paddle. There was no objects. It was her hand all the time, and she would tell them that they were free to do whatever they needed to do to get me to. Now, of course, after that, I didn't really ever have anything. I didn't give them any reason to do anything, but that was kind of weird, just growing up in that environment. And the other thing is that there were a lot of kids around the neighborhood, but nobody really my age. Like there was, not in my immediate neighborhood. There was one kid about 2 years younger, but that was about the closest. Everybody else was either a lot older. Like when I say then, it's like 3 years older was a lot. Because basically older enough to be at a different type of school. Like if I'm in elementary at 4th or 5th grade and they're 2 years older, well, they're in middle school. So that's different, right? It's too old. And then, or sometimes younger, and they're like, well, I'm in 5th grade, but they're in like, say, 3rd or 4th grade. It's like, I'm not going to, play with them, so to speak. And everybody was divorced, man. So it was just a bunch of single moms almost. There was one dude in the neighborhood that was single. He had
Was he a milkman?
No, he was not.
Are we brothers?
Was
He
he
was
a
not a milkman.
train conductor?
Not a milkman, but nice dude though. Had a good family. And then there was one kid in the neighborhood that was just super, just different. And he invited all of us over one time, a bunch of dudes over one time to his, not really in his house, but like a shed he had out back, because he wanted to show us, kind of what he was about. Man, about halfway through this thing, I'm realizing I'm in this like Nazi recruiting thing, like weird multi-level marketing pitch.
Wow.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, it's like we're gonna be in this downline, and we're gonna be these new
Breaks out the
neo-Nazis.
pyramid.
Yeah, we're like these neo-Nazis, and he's showing us pictures of, Jewish guys with huge noses and black guys hanging from trees. Like monkeys and things like that. It was crazy, and I'm like, this isn't accurate. I'm not joining your little band of misfits.
Wow.
And he was about a year or two older. And so he wanted to fight, and he's like, "Well, then you're one of them, and you're an N lover, and you're a this, that," and I'm like, "Dude," and and by that point I started going to church, and so it wasn't really a theological thing; it was just more like an instinct thing. I'm like, "This is stupid." So he tried to fight me one day in front of everybody because he was going to show me that he's like the boss or whatever, and I knocked him out. I mean, I knocked him out. And all the other guys, they left him too. Like they all left. So
Did you neo knock him out?
I did. I knocked him out, man. I did. I knocked the Third Reich right out of him. I remember having to tell the guys bringing me to church, what ended up being my youth pastor at the time. He was just working as a volunteer, and I remember telling him about it. And I was kind of, hey, and he's like, dude, you can't do that. Jesus teaches us to turn the other cheek, and you got to pray for your enemies. And I'm like, but he was using the N-word and all this. I'm like, I couldn't take it, And I remember the dude would stand he had kind of lived he was the next house over from a corner house. He'd come out of his house and stand on the corner that had a cul-de-sac, and I was on the other end of the cul-de-sac. So like he's standing on one corner of the cul-de-sac, I'm on the other, my house is on the other.
Tumbleweed rolls by.
Not really,
No.
but usually I'd be out there waiting for
How funny.
my ride to go to church because the guy would come by and pick me up. And he started to figure out that my mentor was black, right? So he'd come around his little Volkswagen Bug and pick me up. And I remember just before he'd be coming down the street, even this guy's like, "And lover, you know, you love ends." And I'm like, do I need to come back over? You know, in my head, I'm like, do I need to? Seriously,
Did we already deal with this?
You want some of
I already
this?
told you once.
Right. Do we need to Hitler you again? You know, and so I remember every time I would start to walk across the street to go face up to him, he'd run.
Of course.
This dude was a year or two older than me. And he would waddle off like, you know, very pasty, kind of a white guy.
Goose stepping all the way down the street.
stepping. I'm like, man, this dummy. And so, yeah, man, I remember. And then all of a sudden, he was living with his grandma. So I don't know what happened to his folks. I don't know where he was from. But just based on the fact that he was where he was at in life, something bad must have happened to his folks. And now he's living with his mom. And so, you know, he's being recruited, obviously, by some knucklehead somewhere. Not in our neighborhood, I don't think, because I didn't see anybody. Maybe he like thought he was joining the Boy Scouts and he was just joining like the little, you know, little Nazis or something. And I remember later when I'm trying to think, I must have been late elementary or early middle school. And then he was gone. And I remember being in probably early high school and remembering him and just feeling really bad. I'm like, this dude was lost.
It's tragic.
It was. I mean, he's a perfect target, right, for something like that. Some kind of cultic type group that's, you know, on the fringe. If he was a girl, he could have been recruited to be trafficked. I mean, it was that kind of thing, you know. He had that kind of, you could tell. And his grandma was older, she's kind of feeble. I don't think she could do a whole lot with him. I mean, it was kind of, I'm sure inside he was a saint to her. But man, he was wreaking havoc. And I don't know whatever happened to him. I don't know where he went. I don't know what, you know, didn't really care. But at the time, but later. So that was probably the worst part of my neighborhood was that dude. And then, yeah, anyway, that was it. The other neighborhood did have a little bit of gang activity. And then we had a huge domestic violence situation where this woman got beat up by her husband. And then he was trying to leave and she was trying to hold on. And she held on to his door of his car and she wouldn't let go. And he was driving down this alleyway and just dragging her. And it was really tore up alley. So all this her face was just all ripped up, and not just from him beating her, but like holding on, being dragged across asphalt and concrete.
Wow.
And I remember all of us like hearing the screams, and it was during the day, and we all ran around to the alley, and it was like, what in the world? It wasn't that long after that, my mom's like, we're out of here.
Jeez.
Yeah, we're out of here.
Yeah.
So I was getting in more and more fights. I was getting, you know, so for the first, when it came to Lakewood, which was definitely a little bit more of an elevated neighborhood, I mean, I was the bully for about a year. I mean, not the bully, but I was the dude nobody would mess with.
Had to establish dominance.
Just, yeah, I had it coming in.
You had several telephone poles you had to lift your leg on.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know, but I don't know if that's dominance. But the thing is that like Ray said in an earlier episode about there's always a bigger fish.
Yeah.
I remember thinking I was really tough, and I remember 5th grade at the new neighborhood, and this is after a couple years of, you know, just being a guy that nobody wanted to mess with. I got in some fight, and this dude pushed me down on the ground, and he was smart enough to not let me get back up. I was bigger than him. I know I could have beat him up. And so, but once he got me down, I don't remember if I lost my balance or he just pushed me, but I came down and I'm trying to get up. And every time I'm trying to get up, he's hitting me, you know, and then I'm trying to get back up and he's hitting me, you know, and it's not like it hurt or that I was, you know, unconscious or anything like that. But after a while, I just stayed down like, okay, you know, because I couldn't scoot away from him enough to get up. And I know if I would have, I'd have tore him up. But I just couldn't get up. And I learned, you know, he's just standing over me and he's just like, bam, every time, bam, you know. And I remember that weekend I had to go visit my dad, which I didn't even like doing, with his old girlfriend that was ancient and cigarette hanging off her lip. And hi, Johnny. I was like, oh my gosh.
How you doing, John?
Well, the funny thing is she really ended up being a really sweet lady. And my dad,
Run down and give me some mentals.
yeah, no, she was a sweet lady and my dad dogged her pretty good. But at the time I was like, I do not like you. And I remember I showed up and I didn't even realize I had it, but I had this big shiner. This guy just kept wailing on the same side of my face, right? And I had this big black eye. And my dad starts just giving me the business. Who you getting in a fight with? What happened? I'm explaining, why didn't you win? And what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. And he's just riding me, man, about it. He's like, come here, I'm going to show you. And he starts pushing me like, swing. I'm not going to swing at you, And I remember walking away at one point, and he's like, well, I never thought I'd have a son. I forget what he said. And I turned around and said, well, at least my friends aren't all. And I use the FAGS word, for gay people. At least my friends aren't all, come here.
Oh, man.
You know that moment where you're walking away and you're like, okay, he's going to let me walk away. Oh, he's not. And just the way he said it, I felt myself lift up and back up right in the air. Like he telepathically drew me back to him. And he turns around and he goes, we're going to learn how to fight, my son of mine. And he pushes me and I'm screaming, I'm not going to swing. You're my dad. I'm not going to hit you. Blah, 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 blah. And man, I was crying. It's a big moment. And you realize when you're a kid, but this is happening in his backyard. The whole neighborhood hears this.
Yeah.
And you don't realize this, right?
Right.
So when it's all done, I walk out front because I'm pouting and I walk away and he goes inside and I'm walking away. And there's these 3 kids on the other side of the street. And they decide they're going to start acting out what they just heard. So one of them's my dad and the other, don't do it. And dad. But they're doing it like with a extra, like making fun of me and, all that. Like I'm, I don't know, like I have this swishy voice and all this other stuff. And I remember looking at Cian, and I was so frustrated. And everything happened so, I walked over there, and I beat them all up. I just right? I just took them all out. I just went nuts, right? And I turned around to come back, man, and they're all laying out on the ground and stuff. And I turn around to come back. My dad's sitting out the porch looking, and he goes, that's my son. And he turns around and walks in. And that's one of the most vivid memories I have of my dad and the way he thought about life. It was so funny.
Jeez.
Yeah, crazy, man. Crazy. So I don't know about best and worst, but in one way I had a highly dysfunctional upbringing, and the other way, I don't know, I liked it. I mean, not that I didn't like that, but I liked my neighborhood. I liked where I lived and grew up. Just lots of cool friends and lots of, so like you guys have all said, you just don't know when you're in it. You don't, it's not like you can compare, you're just
your life.
You don't know, any better. Yeah.
This is what we're doing, so it was all good, man. So I don't know, maybe in the feeds you guys can tell us about your childhood memories, your best or worst. And let us know something. And we're always looking for topics. That's another thing. We got a topic coming up that Scott teased a little earlier about that a viewer gave us. So we're going to use that. We'd love to use your topic. So keep sending us ideas. Even if you've sent it and you didn't think we heard it or listened to it or used it, which might be true, but we're still going to try to look at it. Jared and Scott and these guys are really good at checking it out, and we'll discuss it and we'll throw it up on the air and we'll give you credit. We might even ask you to be on the show.
We haven't yet.
We haven't. We keep teasing that. But we haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. The next good topic we find, we're going to have that person on the show.
Okay.
I promise. All right. Where's Ray going? Ray's sliding around to get behind.
Does your camera die again? You got to charge that back.
Did it,
I
Ray?
know. Yeah.
Okay. So for the last part of the show, Ray's had that photo up you get in high school where it's like a broken camera.
Yeah.
There it is. He's really here. We promise. All right, guys. Thanks for listening as always. We hope you had a good time. We hope you got something out of it. We've probably been a little serious the last couple of episodes. We'll get back to the shenanigans next time.
Shenanigans.
Everybody say goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.